I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more
There's
times.
5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
This is Mohammed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. So I had a catch up with Gareth Davies a few days ago, and there have been some developments in Fury Joshua. Of course, Tyson's deadline got extended to Thursday, and the parties, i.e. George Warren, Matchroom, and the broadcasters have been talking still. But it doesn't seem like really we're going to get this fight. Is that your view as well, Gareth?
I think it's that situation where gloves are up, they're about to meet, and then they decide to back off but facing each other, if I can put it that way. And there's no actual fight at the end of it. That's what it feels like at the moment. I'm not using the word excuses for not having the fight, but it looks like they're backing out of it. I do understand Eddie Hearn's comments to you that it takes a long time to get the deal over the line properly and everything signed. He said, she said, contracts back and forth, all of that, fair enough. They are doing that, there's no question. On Tuesday, Frank Warren had kind of replied to me that Tyson had made his decision. Obviously, they were still talking behind the scenes. We had that further announcement from Fury yesterday, got till the end of Thursday. And that was because he'd seen the adjustments in the contract. And he was kind of talking around that himself, wasn't he? That, you know, we'll give you co-promotion and all that kind of stuff. But now Eddie Hearn's saying, but there are details within the commercial value of Anthony Joshua where his commercial partners, and I don't think that includes Dazn, although it may be kind of incrementally alongside Dazn, whoever worked with them, can't get what they want. So again, it's still... The way Eddie described it to you yesterday is that some of these, obviously, it is one of the biggest fights in boxing. That the way some of these fights are done, when you've got such a big commodity, in terms, Joshua's a big commercial commodity, of course, that it takes time to get all those people on board. But just do it, you know. I don't know. I feel like there's a backing out process going on here. I think we were always skeptical. Those of us, you know, insiders, if you like, we're always skeptical that it would get over the line. It feels like one of the biggest teases we've ever had. Who wants it more? I don't know who wants it more. I mean, I think it was an opportunity for Joshua to change something, to regain redemption, if that was possible for him in this fight. Fury wanted a fight in December. We don't really want to see him fight Manuel Charr. I don't think it does a lot. Does that really sell out the Principality Stadium? It's more of an O2 fight, in my view. You know, I can't see 70,000 people, even though he's so popular, going to see him fight Manuel Charr. We hear Derek Chisora, and I was there in the mix with Derek Chisora and Tyson Fury on Saturday night for TalkSport and the Telegraph. And that seems to have kicked off. That's done 5 million views, you know, that clip, which is a big number. You know, even a few weeks back, I was talking to Tyson Fury in Bristol on his homecoming tour, and he was teasing the idea of Derek Chisora trilogy then. And maybe there was a bit of, even though I didn't feel it at the time, maybe they knew Derek was coming and they were going to tease something up. Certainly Shane and John, who were hovering, and Tyson's security and all those people didn't seem to be acting at the time. You know, they had war and peace for a minute or two, and then war again. I don't know. I think I've just got the feeling that Eddie Hearn and the management team, Anthony Joshua, aren't happy with the conditions in the contract, and maybe Queensberry aren't happy to yield to all of those demands. And as Eddie said, it could take weeks.
Yeah.
And that puts it out of the mainframe, because you actually do need the fight signed for those guys to go into camp and start selling tickets and all those kind of things for a big event like Cardiff. So I'm still skeptical. I think there's a tiny chink in the door. It's Friday. I don't know if you're putting this out today, but it's Friday. Yeah. I think by Monday it's probably dead, this fight, you know. So yeah, I think it's just one of the biggest teas. I think they're backing out. I really do think they're backing out.
Who's backing out? Who's backing out?
That's the $64 million question, or the £80 million question, if that's what this fight is worth. It's very difficult to say. I think maybe neither side want to lose face at this point, and it's who loses face the most in the public. Earlier on in the week, Tyson Fury is being denigrated on Monday for saying no deadline, 5 o'clock. I don't know if he knew more than we knew. Maybe he knew that the broadcasters were on board at that point. I do understand that both broadcasters, BT Sport and Dazn, were on board for it. Who's backing out? I think if anyone, knowing boxing and knowing where we stand with the two fighters, I think it's more likely that Joshua and Eddie are backing out, you know, even though we've heard from Anthony that he wants to fight and he's happy to sign. But the conditions have got to be right. But I think we've probably got AJ backing out at this point because they're not happy with the terms and they can't get the terms that they want. Or it's an excuse about the commercial value, you know. We should be digging deep into Eddie over this next week when Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. go at it. But where does it leave both fighters, you know, for December? They both want to fight in December. I mean, Eddie was even pouring scorn in your interview yesterday about the Usyk fight in March, wasn't he? Which I found extraordinary.
Yeah, I did say to him, well, they are scheduled to box in spring in Saudi Arabia. But he truly believes Fury doesn't want to fight Usyk. He's scared of him. He believes that. But yeah.
Don't buy that. Don't buy it. I don't buy it. Why would he be scared of him? You know, it's a great fight. Who's Fury been scared of so far? I think after Saturday night, all the heavyweight division should be a little bit scared of Joe Joyce, frankly. But
yeah, that would be the plausible one. That would be the plausible one.
Can anyone put him away, or will they eventually with a big punch? It'll happen at some point if he goes on too long. But yeah, but it's. This reminds me of last year when the contracts were going back and forth and Eddie was saying, and I know they were very close, obviously they were close to doing the deal till the arbitration case for Deontay Wilder, but do you remember the back and forth that there was for probably the best part of 4 or 5 months? And it was highly frustrating. And in some ways, this is more frustrating. I genuinely felt demoralised this week. Now, I wonder how the fans feel about this, just demoralised. You were teased you're going to get this huge fight. Resolution in a way for these two behemoths in the ring who've come up, you know, together in terms of timing. It's a travesty, really.
Well, there was a huge debate on TalkSport yesterday about why this hasn't been signed yet from Joshua's side, this contract. There was a fair few videos that went up on TalkSport's YouTube channel. And from the public looking in, it seems pretty simple, right? 60-40 is the split, 50-50 split in the rematch clause should Joshua win the first fight, and December 3rd in Cardiff. Those terms have been agreed by 258 Joshua and Matchroom publicly. And then I asked Eddie, why hasn't this been signed yet if those terms have been agreed? And the point that he went to was that Joshua's commercial deals, his existing rights deals, could be in breach if they're not party to all conversations and sort of all legalities in the contract. So that is the reason why they can't sign at the moment, which seems like a plausible reason. Would you not say, Gareth? Yeah,
it is plausible, but it just requires Queensberry to agree those things to allow. What he was talking about, yes, I think between the lines, was control of the promotion. Yes, it's a co-promotion. There's lots of co-promotions out there, but it's the control of the promotion. Queensberry and Fury have control of this promotion. It's a voluntary defence, and I expect that's in the contract. They've got control.
Which would be normal and standard as the champion. Yeah,
it would be. But I think what Hearn's indicating is they need control within the promotion of those commercial aspects.
Yeah.
I can't see why Queensberry wouldn't agree to that. But it depends what they are. Devil in the detail, as always. But is it an excuse for getting out? Maybe. Is it a plausible reason? possibly. But the truth is, unless someone leaks the contracts, we'll never see it. And I think if it does fall through, sometimes you do get contracts leaked, unless there's an agreement that nothing's going to be made public about them. But the fine detail here is what's stopping this fight going ahead, or a decision that no, it's not right now. Hearn said it could take weeks to sort out all the fine detail. I mean, we haven't got weeks. It's October the 1st tomorrow, 2 months and 2 days before the fight. So, as I say, by Monday, I think we can expect that this fight's dead if they're not done by Monday, because it's you've got the distraction of another whole fight week next week. They are clearly talking every day. They are clearly getting on. Maybe that augurs well for the future, that they can get a deal done. What I do notice in this one that not a lot of people have said is there's not a lot of slanging each other promotionally. There's George Warren and Frank Warren are clearly getting on with Eddie Hearn now, and that's good news in terms of repairing that relationship. Because Frank and Eddie clearly haven't got on, they're rivals.
Well, Gareth, I'll just say something on that. Frank and Eddie haven't spoke during this process, so it's been George and Eddie. But you can say Queensberry and Matchroom. That's where it's at. Frank and Eddie haven't spoke during this process, so.
No, but at the very least, they are in agreement. Eddie tweeted the other day. I might have mentioned it on the on our last chat. Anyway, I think it had gone out by then. Eddie said, "I'm in agreement with Frank." When would you ever hear that from Eddie Hearn?
Never.
On a tweet to his million followers or whatever. So that's admission at least that they're getting somewhere. And I think, as he said, if they're talking every day, that didn't happen last time. There was a lot of he said, she said in the last promotion in 2021 to get this fight off the ground. But I do fear that if we don't get the fight now, I don't see when it gets over the line next year, or it gets over the line, if Joshua beats Usyk next year, they find a way to get. If Fury beats Usyk next year, they find a way of getting Joshua in the mix again. But there's risky fights out there for him. There's a lot of risky fights, and the same as Fury. Is Joshua really going to fight Tom Schwartz or Otto Wallin or Robert Helenius or any of these kind of guys? It's very difficult, because he doesn't do those fights. He'll fight Wilder, or he'll fight Dillian Whyte. He's got to have those big fights. And as Eddie said yesterday, I thought was fascinating to you, we never got a contract from Deontay Wilder, which was interesting in itself as well. Late next year we may see it, but it's one of those fights that is incredibly frustrating because it's so huge. Make the fight.
Just the last one, you said that Eddie said in my interview yesterday that it could take weeks, and what he was referring to there was actually the broadcast deal. Now, we've heard from Tyson and Frank, they believe the broadcast terms and all three parties, i.e. BT, DAZN and ESPN, are on board and happy with everything. But Eddie believes to draw up international rights agreements and get everything papered with the broadcasters, that could potentially take weeks. And if that's the case and the fight's not signed officially for another 2-3 weeks, as you say, 6 weeks isn't enough, is it, for a build-up?
Oh, I think it is for this one, because we've had a build-up. We've had a build-up since June 2020. We've had a build-up to this fight for forever. They're not going to struggle to sell out the Principality Stadium for this fight.
Tyson, I think Tyson wants to know who he's fighting on December 3rd, and pretty soon. I think that's the point that he's getting at. Of
course, but he could still get into camp now and start preparing. I mean, it's not like he's been out of camp for years. He still does his thing where he goes to the gym. I know he's had a few days off. He's been on a homecoming tour and a Fury Fest and all those things. But part of his lifestyle now is to have those training days, to have the gym days, gym moments every day. No, I think my understanding is the broadcasters have agreed in principle as well that they are happy to go ahead with the fight. That was last Friday, I think. Oh no, it was Monday that they'd agreed finally. So that's just the fine print of international rights for how Dazn and BT Sport share the spoils of the pay-per-view, because it would obviously be a pay-per-view. So that comes down to BT Sport agreeing to Dazn's international rights, doesn't it? And them sharing. That's just the two teams sitting together and working that out and sharing the revenue. I don't see that as a massive issue. The fact that they've agreed in principle means that they do agree to share the revenue. Maybe that could be a sticking point that we're not aware of, that they don't want to reveal at the moment. But my understanding is, from my sources, that they agreed, and that they agreed to go ahead with it. But who knows? Dazn have got a big contract with Anthony Joshua, and they may not want him fighting Tyson Fury right now, because if we rewind, if we crank it back in, when we first heard about Joshua and Fury fighting in December, and I said it myself as well, and was in agreement with a lot of other people, this isn't a good time for his deal with Dazn, and it's not a good time, having just lost 2 fights in a row and 3 of his last 5, in traditional boxing speak, to go straight into this fight with the number 1 in the division. But the way it was portrayed afterwards, and things that were said afterwards, that why not take this opportunity now? The world's changing all the time. Someone could, detach a retina, have an injury in sparring, and the fight could be gone forever. So, you can see both sides of it. It's wholly unsatisfactory at the moment, though. And I say that as someone who would love to see the fight.
Well, at least we've got a mega fight week next week with Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. That certainly is happening October 8th at the O2 live on the Dazn pay-per-view. Gareth, thank you very much for your time, and no doubt we'll see each other next week during fight week.
Yeah, I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more
There's 5
times.
blokes outside my front door. You coming in?
One hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.